So what you want to do when you're tracing a pattern for yourself or for others, you want to leave at least an inch seam allowance right here. And since I'm making big, comfortable flowy pants, I want to extend this out there. I want to extend the pants leg out there. I'm using blue because black ink will be hard to get out of this light fabric. Let's go. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm using shorts, but I measured my pants length, and I'm going to cut just extra material for my pants length. You need 2 of each, so that's why I doubled this, so I can make 2 patterns of the back. Since I'm allowing for 1 inch seam allowance, I do not have to trace that. Okay. And I'm using chalk because you can just wipe it off. Okay, I cut my back pieces and I labeled on them. Where's the blue chalk? B for back, T for top, and B for bottom. Now let me cut my front pieces. So as I mentioned yesterday in my video, there is more than one way to sew pants together. So this way, this method, I am going to sew the inner leg seam first instead of the crotch first. So I take my back pair, line it up with my front pair, right sides together. So you want your not so attractive side out. So now that I have both pieces put together, my front and my back, with the crotch seams, crotch points matched together, I'm going to sew the inside leg. Always remember, the inside leg is where the crotch comes together. So now that I've sewn the inside legs together, I'm placing my fabric on both pieces, right side inside, the doll side up, and I'm placing the pieces so they're matched. Front, back to back. Now I'm going to sew the crotch area. Put a few pins in here. So it'll be pretty even. And those raggedy pieces I can cut off after I pin them or after I sew them. And the measurements, the exact measurements, we are not really focused on. We are focusing more on the technique. But since these pants are for me, I'm not going to do exact measurements, you know, precise. So let me go sew these and I'll be back. So now that we've sewn the crotch together, we have to sew the side seams. Be careful because you do not want to sew the front to front and the back to back. So the way we will avoid that is by opening this. You see the crotch right there? And doing like so. But remember, we want to turn this inside out before we sew it. Before I sew the side seams, I am going to add elastic. And in this case, my elastic is much more thicker than the one I use on the little baby's pants. This is size 1 5/8 inch. So I'm going to sew the elastic and the legs, the bottom legs, before I sew the side seams together. The reason why I'm doing that is because it's much easier to sew the edges when the material is not connected. But in this case, since my pants legs are so wide, I can easily sew the hem after I sew the side seams together. But I'm going to do it the way I always do it. See you later.